Welcome back to the Yoga Chat. I'm your host, Montana.
I'm your host, May.
And today we have the OG yogi, the yogi that puts the OG in yoga. The one and only Ralph Martino. Ralph has been practicing for over 10 years, born and raised in the Steel City. A fun fact about Ralph is that he's scared of dogs. Who would have thought? The who would have
I
thought
hide it
really
well.
gets me. You do. I agree with that. Who would have thought? Another fun fact about Ralph, because I don't know if he knows this, but May and I know this. Ralph is like, I would say, the most requested guest that we have had. So to all of our listeners, all four of you, Mom, Aaron, here he is. We're so happy to have you, Ralph. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for having me. I'm
Yeah.
glad that people were interested in me. Little pat on the back, I guess. Ego boost for the day.
Hell yeah.
Sorry to disappoint you, but
No. I saw Antoinette, Chad's wife at the studio the other day, and I was like, we're gonna get Ralph on the podcast soon. And she's like, we've all been waiting. Come on.
nice.
So the Yoga Ralph, for those of you that have been living under a rock in the Pittsburgh area, this is Yoga Ralph, and we're so excited to have you. So Ralph, I've heard bits and pieces of it, but I'm really excited to take a little bit of time to hear more about your story and your background and what originally led you to a yoga mat, because it is far from uh the
Typical.
typical, far from typical. So Ralph and I actually did our 200-hour together back in 2019 at Yoga Flow, which Dom is probably the second most requested guest that we've had. So we've talked a lot about you, Ralph, on the podcast, and we talked a lot about you with Dom as well. But I feel like we would have crossed paths eventually anyways, because it's Yoga Ralph. So will you let us know, the listeners, just a little bit of your background and like where you come from and what originally led you onto a yoga mat?
Man, my background is I'm a street kid. I grew up poor. Uh, I've been a hustling motherfucker my whole life. I like to say I never worked a 9 to 5. I work, but I've never worked the typical 9 to 5. I've always been like what society would deem like a gangster. I mean, I guess I could say that. I guess with the statute of limitations, I could talk a little bit, but I grew up like a like a hood, street corner kid. Uh, Never in my life would I think that I would be in a yoga studio. My mom never did yoga. It just wasn't like something that was around like my network of people at the time. Like there ain't no yoga in the hood. But yeah, I don't know. I landed on my mat, I guess, because of like how everybody lands on their mat. A little bit of trauma and a little bit of uh just a little bit of a journey. I don't know. I ended up on a spiritual journey when I was like 25 years old. My mother passed away suddenly, had a massive heart attack. Uh, my mom, my whole life, had multiple sclerosis. My dad was legally blind. When my mom passed away, I became like the primary caretaker for my father. And my whole life, I was overweight. I'm not even going to call it overweight. I was fat as fuck. My whole life till I was like 32 years old. My mom passes away. I start taking care of my dad. The first real wake up call was the heart attack. I'm like, all right, dude, you gotta like kind of gotta clean it up. I was living a foul life. Like, I started taking care of my dad. My dad's first request was, he was like, you gotta get life insurance. And I'm like, bro, that's fucking funny. I'm like, you think I'm gonna get killed out here? I'm like, whatever. I still got the same policy from like the last 20 years, but I start taking care of my dad, and I start becoming a little bit more health conscious of shit. it started out just simple shit, where I put down the Turner's tea, put down pop, started eating a little bit healthier. Next thing you know, I start losing a couple pounds, and then like 2 years after my mom passed away, my dad was always teeter-tottering with end stage renal kidney disease. He 2 years in the, I call it the odd couple, 2 years of me taking care of him, living with him and shit, being his roommate essentially. His kidneys fail. He ends up on dialysis, and from there, that was like a real eye-opening experience for me. You never know what anybody's going through. You never know what someone's day might be like. I was like the epitome of that. I was going through it. I had no clue. Like, in my head, I'm like 27 years old. I'm like, my mom just died. I've been taking care of my dad, and all of a sudden my life just got flipped upside down. Because he's blind, and the blind, like, if he wasn't blind, it would have been a different story. He'd have been able to drive himself here and there, but like, he literally relied on me for so much shit. And when he started doing the dialysis, I basically just I ran a successful lawn care business for years, since I was like 14 years old. Like I said, I came from nothing. I had to cut grass, and then I had to sell grass to fucking pay the bills to make sure we weren't homeless. And I sell my business because there's no way I could full-time take care of him, be out there. So I basically retired at like the age of 28 years old, and taking care of him full-time. And it's just road bump after road bump after road bump, between like fistula surgery, just to like put ports in to actually do the actual dialysis. Nothing would fucking work. And it was like since 2003 till 2016, I probably went to the hospital 2,000 times as a visitor throughout that run. 2003, my dad gets stomach cancer. 2 years of fucking intensive treatment on that, where I can't even believe he pulled through that. It comes back a couple years later. It moves down into his ass. They literally, like, ass cancer. It sounds funny, but they had to cut like 19 inches of his colon.
Oh my God.
It was the worst. If you told him, like, if they were like, Joe, we're gonna cut your colon, and this is going to be the result, he'd have been like, no, thank you. We'll just let this take me away. But it was rough. They cut his colon, and then that's what led to the kidney failure. All the chemos, all the cancer treatments in the early 2000s is one of the main factors in what started shutting down his kidneys. When his kidneys failed, the doctors told me, they're like, hey, it's up to you. They told me, well, the first thing they told me, I get life advice from everybody. You never know who the messenger is. I always say, like, that St. Michael shit. You never know who the angel of death is until he fucking shows up, but he does the work. Doctor told me, like, the first day, I didn't even know he was dialyzed. The first day I come into the hospital, they're like, HR's there, there's fucking social workers, there's all these people. They're like, we got to pull you aside, bro, and we got to talk. They're like, you're not going to like what you see when you go in there. And they were like, there's no easy way to say it. He was like, somebody got to be tough right now, because this man is going through it. And if he sees you break down, like, it's going to be 10 times worse. So I ran in there, like, for years. I had that, like, attitude where it was like, bro, you got to be tough. You can't show no weakness. He's already going through so much shit. You can't let him know that, like, it's affecting you. But I go in there, I see him in this comatose state where literally, like, he can't even pee no more or nothing like that. Everything is like, he's now required 6 liters of constant oxygen as well, which was it's fucking insane. 6 liters of constant oxygen is ridiculous. Like, if you went to the hospital and they threw a little canteen on your nose, you get like a half a liter of oxygen. 6 liters, you can't even do portable. I had to carry around like fucking helium tanks, like we were doing circus balloons half the time, like there's doctor's appointments. But they told me you have to be strong. And I just remember from that day where I was like, all right, dude, like life is hitting you so fucking hard right now. And realistically, all I wanted to do was run away. That's all I wanted to do. I was like, man, I wasn't prepared for this. I never asked for this, but I couldn't literally run away. I couldn't just move to Mexico or start a new life in California. So I started fucking running physically. I started running a mile or two, a mile, just doing an hour of cardio where it turned into like, where I'm like the background in everybody's simulation. And like everybody knows me in McKeesport as the dude that runs shirtless. Like I'm in like everybody has seen me at one point running through the city, just on a mission for mental and to get my body right. But they told me I had to be tough, so I started getting way tougher. And then the road just kept getting way sicker and sicker. My sister was in the same boat. She had end stage renal failure. She was 53 years old when she died. She passes away when I'm like a year after I retired. I think I was 29 years old. That right there was like the sickest roadblock. It made like me and my dad. I had my dad right. Like I would take him to dialysis. He'd be all chipper and shit. When his firstborn daughter died, it was like, damn. He literally was like, I don't like depression, all that shit. He just didn't like it. It was like the beginning of the end. It started to affect his mental and affect his attitude of fighting to stay alive as well. And this whole time, I'm fucking fighting this shit in my head. I'm running miles to try to escape it. And next thing you know, I lose like 130 pounds in this year of just this first year on dialysis, between the diet they told me to put them on and just the fucking stress. Like I didn't know what to do except for lift weights and run. I didn't know, nobody introduced me to therapy until a few years ago. I didn't know 10 years ago, like, maybe you should go fucking talk to somebody and get some help, because the help was all there. There was social workers, like everybody, like the dialysis shit is really weird. It costs $3,300 an appointment. He would have to go 3 to 4 times a week. So with all that money coming out of his healthcare, these motherfuckers treated me like royalty. I came in, they give me sparkling water while I was waiting for him and shit. But a year goes by, I lose all this weight. I'm in best shape of my life. I was going to my local weed man. He happened to move up to Irwin on 3rd Street. I go up there and we're just talking, and he's like, I was on this health kick where I was drinking wheatgrass every day, cold pressed juices, and I would go to Pittsburgh Juice Company every day to get this wheatgrass shot. It would literally take an hour and a half just to get a shot of wheatgrass every day. They open up in Irwin. That's fucking 15 minutes away. Well, he tells me, he's like, there's this place right down the road. You're going to love my neighborhood. It's called the Greenberry. There's a juice spot. And he was like, they're about to open a yoga studio right next door. So that day I leave his house. I buy a bag of weed. I leave his house. I'm walking down the street. I stop at the Greenberry, get a wheatgrass, and I'm just chopping it up. And something just told me, I look in the yoga studio window and it says first class is free. And I look, there's no class going on. There's a lady just chilling inside there. So I knock on the door and she's like, come on in. And I'm like, hey, I'm walking around the neighborhood. I see the yoga place. And I was like, first class is free. I was like, I might take you up on that offer. I go back to my buddy and I tell him, I'm like, I'm bringing back a juice and shit. I'm like, yeah, man, there's a yoga spot. I was like, first class is free. And he was like, if you go, I'll go. And I was like, that's a bet. I'm like, sure. He long story short, he never fucking went. But I end up signing up like 2 weeks later because like something just told me like, bro, you're not doing enough for your mental health. You're running away from problems physically. You're addicted to the gym. Like, shut it off for a second. I schedule a class. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the day before Easter in 2016. I signed up for a Saturday morning. It was Gentle with Diane Beeler. Diane Beeler, huge part of this yoga journey for me. I believe she was trained by Dom. I don't know how true it is. I haven't talked to Diane since I went rogue on this journey. I would love to actually run into her and chop it up and thank her for the monster she turned me into. But I show up to this 9 o'clock class, and it's me and like two old ass ladies. And I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie, I'm scared. I didn't smoke no weed before this class. I've very rarely don't smoke weed before I do anything physical. I didn't smoke no weed before I went there, and I go in there, and it turns out it's restorative. I used to call it grandma yoga my whole beginning career. I thought it was what grandmas were, hugging pillows and om and chanting. And I'm not breaking a sweat or even like standing up sometimes. But I go to this class, and it's not what I expected. For some reason, I expected it to be weird, and I expected it to be a lot more physical than it was. We end up moving close towards the end of class. We do hips. She's explaining all this shit. There's 3 of us, so she's constantly adjusting me as well. And we got bolsters, blankets. I couldn't be any more comfortable in there. But we roll over and we do this psoas stretch. And we start on the right side, and I just felt like tension in my groin just pop like a rubber band snap. And it was like 31 years of clusterfuck and terrible just went out the window, and all of a sudden all this good energy came flowing in. And it was like, you're telling me all I had to do was just stretch my leg and my arm so simply in the same direction with a block underneath my hip, and it would literally change my whole life? I was like, I'm sold on it. I'll be here next Saturday, and I'll be here for every Saturday for the rest of my life, more than likely, God willing. But the major reason why I was comfortable enough to make that move, and we talked about this when you came on my podcast, was there was a wrestler named Diamond Dallas Page. I grew up a monster wrestling fan, as any kid in the 80s should have been. I Hulkamania, I was there for that shit. Like, I lived it. And wrestling has a special place in my heart. I never tell people this, why I still watch WrestleMania every year, but like, that was the thing with me and my dad. My dad couldn't watch like sports like everybody else, but he could listen to wrestling, and it was the storytelling and the announcing. It was that every week he'd be in front, he'd watch Monday Night Raw. I don't know what the fuck he could see, but he would listen to it every week. And I've seen this documentary on ESPN. It was the ESPN 30 for 30 about a wrestler named Scott Hall. Scott Hall was bad on drugs, alcohol. He was like inches away from death. Diamond Dallas Page reaches out to him, brings him into his house, almost like a recovery house. He makes him eat right, and he makes him start doing yoga. And fast forward a few months later, he's clean and sober, back in good shape. He was literally in like a wheelchair when he pulled up, back on his feet, ready to roll. And I just seen that, and I'm like, I'm not going to knock that at all. And he had a catchphrase that always caught my attention. He used to say, "This is not your mama's yoga." And I'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what's not your mom? Like, I don't even know what my mom's yoga is. My mom don't even know what yoga is. My mom don't even know I took yoga. Like, if I can only imagine what my mom would say to me now if I talked to her and was like, "Hey, I'm teaching yoga." She'd probably be like, what the fuck happened when I left? But Diamond Dallas Page made it comfortable for me. Diane Beeler made it a home for me, where I don't know what it is. I say this all the time. In my relationships, in my life, I'm always looking for something that feels like home. I don't know if it's a person, place, thing, idea, or what, But that was the first time in that room with just 3 fucking people and Diane Beeler leading, where I actually was like, I feel at home here. I was like, I fucking feel at home for once. And I was like, I'm gonna continue to keep doing this. From there, it just turned into a monster. It started out gentle, gentle, gentle. With 3 people coming to class, you can't sustain a yoga business. I'm sorry, but like they went out of business within like a year and a half. I end up start to travel around. I end up going to a place called Inner Strength Yoga on Route 30 up in like West. All my yoga takes place in like Westmoreland County. I very rarely come into the city. That's why I'm like, when I get a chance to sub at in Shady Side, I'm like, let's fucking roll. Let's go 412 for once. But I started going to this place called Inner Strength. It's the first time I met with a heated room, and it wasn't like super heated. It was maybe like 85 degrees. And it was less of the grandma yoga and more vinyasa. I come to find out all the teachers there came through the yoga, well, at least the decent ones came through the yoga flow system. Same thing starts happening. Well, I start to grow tired of that place. I go there and it's the same shit over and over again. There's a teacher named Connie Jenkins, who actually, like, full circle, she still comes to my classes. I still see her a lot. But I just talked to her one day after class. I was like, you know what, Connie? I was like, I've been doing yoga for like, this is probably like I've been in it for like 4 years. And I'm like, when the fuck are we going to stand on our heads? Like, when are you going to cue? Like, I didn't even know what pro was called. I was like, when am I going to do that shit on my biceps? Like, when am I going to do some strong shit?
When the
And
fuck
she
are
was
we
like-
gonna stand on our heads?
She was like, to tell you the truth, she's like, we'll never get there here. She was like, you look around the room. She's like, you're the only one in shape. Everybody else is like, they're just here for like the breathing and shit. And she told me, she was like, you're gonna want, well, first thing she told me, she was like, you should become a teacher yourself and start training if you want motherfuckers to do shit like that. And I was like, I don't know about all that. But she was like, go find Dominique Ponko at Yoga Flow. She was like, I'm telling you, go to Yoga Flow. And it took me a long time where my stubbornness and ego would let go. In my head, I'm still thinking, yeah, whatever. I'll figure this shit out. In between going there, I always forget when I'm on podcasts, I always forget to shout this lady out. I wrote a couple notes for this podcast because I know you like to ask astrology questions. And
shit.
We never
Tammy,
even
this
did it.
lady, Tammy Zaccardi, she's from the South Hills area. She was another lady that pushed me so sick in the direction of becoming a teacher. She was teaching at a place called Yoga Style in Elizabeth Forward area.
Mhm.
It was a non-heated room, carpet on the floor. It was one of the weirdest yoga studios ever, carpeted floor. And it was mainly grandma yoga. She was like a little Rasta lady. This lady's vibe was cool. I feel like I take a lot of like the yoga Ralph, like my music taste and like just how I approach people and talk to them from her. I was like, this lady's real as fuck. I was like, I'm trying to be as real as she is. And they're like, you if you're tired of the same cookie cutter teacher, she was like, you should become a teacher. And she was the first person I actually asked. I said, how does it work? I was like, I understand it's like 200 hours, but like, I was like, I probably got 1,000 hours of yoga under my belt. I was like, that don't make me a teacher though. And she's like, no, you have to actually take 2 hours of teacher training. And I'm like, where the fuck they doing that at? And she's like, well, I don't know where to offer it at. I go back up to Connie and I was like, where's Yoga Flow? I was like, you said something about Yoga Flow. I'm like, where the fuck is Yoga Flow at? She's like, I hate to tell you this, but it's right down the street from us. She told me where Yoga Flow was. I never went back to Inner Strength after that. I'm sorry, Connie, but
I think she knew what she was doing.
I go there on a Friday night. Back in Fridays in Irwin, they used to do the $5 community classes. I sign up for community class. I don't know what none of the shit means. I just seen $5. I was like, bet, I'm coming. I show up there. The teacher doesn't show. Michelle actually subs. So I get the first
Damn.
class I get in Yoga Flow is with Michelle. And it was a whole new intimidating animal. I walked up in there. There's dudes with their shirts off. The room's full. There's like 30 people. I'm like, wow, impressive. And the first thing I noticed was it's hot as a motherfucker in here. It's like 105 degrees, but we take this community class, and inversion time comes around. Michelle don't cue legs up to the sky. She cues headstand for the class. And I was like, we're doing this. I was like, we're really fucking doing this. And I was like, I'm going to try it. I was like, I listened to her instructions, tried it, failed horribly. My headstand is still horrible. As a heavyweight yoga instructor, I'm not big on headstand. I get it. Like, yeah, but like, put your legs up, get the same benefits. Shoulder stand's cool too. If you ask me, plow's hard as a motherfucker as a big man, let alone a full headstand. But I'm like, as soon as class is over, I start picking Michelle's brain. I'm like, yo, I've been doing this for years. It's the first time where like I've ever actually been challenged in a class. And not only have I been challenged, but like challenge accepted. Sign me up for the 30 for 30. I'm coming for the next 30. I'm trying every fucking teach. I'm like, she explains the 30 for 30. She's like, you go to Shady Side, you go to Murraysville. I just start traveling around. I travel around for months and months before I cross Dom's path. When I finally crossed Dom's path, it was like the Mega Powers meeting. As soon as I met her, I was like, this chick is cool as fuck. And she just, that night, I always talk about it. She kept asking me, is something wrong? And I'm like, nothing's wrong. I was like, I'm just here for yoga. I was told to find you. She asked me like 3 or 4 times before class ends. She asked me again. And I'm like, lady, if you ask me if something's wrong one more fucking time, there's going to be something wrong. And it's going to be, I'm kind of pissed. You keep asking me. I go home, I get very, very sick. I don't know if it was food poisoning or what, or like a 24-hour bug. And I just thought about that. And I was like, that lady knew something was off on me. And she never fucking met me in her life. And I'm like, how did she fucking know that? And I make a point to go back because she'll do the yins. It was, by now I know my difference between grandma yoga and kick your fucking teeth in yoga. And I pull up the one of her Thursday yins, and she says something that was like, like I said, you never know who the fucking messenger is that's going to change your life. A few years before a doctor changes my life, tells me you have to be tough. I'm sitting in that class where there's still like a half hour left in class. People are still doing it. Dom says something, and I know it was directed towards me. I know the universe was like, say this right now. Don't ask why to say it, just say it. And she was like, you don't always have to be hard. You can let go sometimes, and it's okay. And I just remember thinking, I was like, she's fucking talking to me right now. And I was like, you don't have to be hard anymore, Ralph. You can let go. And I'll never forget it. I pulled a towel over my eyes, and I just had tears flowing out the whole time. I was like, no one's ever told me like that you didn't have to. As a man, as someone who's left a hard life, as a fucking gangster, I was not allowed to ever. There's no fucking crying in baseball. There's no fucking crying in life. Like, my dad lived the hardest life. He never fucking complained about it once. Never complained about it. My dad, besides being blind, he was an orphan who was abused his whole life. It was rough. And I was like, Dom said that. She's like, you don't have to be hard. And she said hard. She didn't say like, you don't have to be tough. She said hard. And I'm like, she's talking to me. I'm like, that's me. Hard as nails, tough as a motherfucking $3 steak. Like, And from there on, I was like, I'm in. I was like, not only am I in, but like, how do I learn what these fuckers know? I didn't want to, like, when I signed up for teacher training, Brittany Pusker was the one that pushed me towards it. She didn't even directly push me. She would make her announcement every day before class. I would go to her class. Britt's one of my favorite, the best teacher in Westmoreland County, easily. I would go to her class and she would announce it, and she'd be like, if you want to up your yoga, teacher training's coming up. And it caught my ear, and I asked her about it. And I'm like, what's up with teacher training? And she's like, yeah, it starts, if you want to sign up, put a down payment on. And I'm like, all right. So it's already in the back of my mind. I'm thinking, I'm an idiot. I'm still like a big jock-headed motherfucker. In my head, I'm thinking teacher training. It doesn't click in my head that teacher training is training to be a teacher. I thought I was going to go to yoga college. I can't do eagle arms, and I thought I was going to be taught by gypsies how to fucking do eagle arms. I thought I was going to learn the fucking secret and the why I can't get my shoulders flexible. And I go back up to Dom, and I talk to Dom after that. Dom probably don't even remember this. And I just started asking her about teacher training, and she was like, yeah, I think you'd be good at it. You should sign up maybe. And I was like, I just was like, do you care if I pay you cash? And she was like, absolutely pay me cash. And I was like, do you care if every time I come to class, I just throw you $200-300 until January when we start? And she was like, cool. She's like, if you pay it off before January, I'll let you save $200. And I'm like, all right, cool. I was like, every time I see you, I'm just going to throw you money. And I was like, I'm going to prepay for this shit, so I'm obligated. I'm like, there's no backing out of it. And that's that being hard shit. If I commit, I'm committed. The first time I took yoga with Diane Biller, I made her sign me up. That way, if I didn't show up, they'd all look at me like this dude's a coward. So I'm like, I have to show up. I can't not show up. But January comes around, and I show up to teacher training, and that's where I run into you. And I had no clue what I was getting myself into. Everyone thinks I'm a social butterfly. Everybody thinks like, no, I just got a good personality and I'm funny. It takes me a minute before I'm comfortable enough to just let everything fly. But I very distinctly remember that first day of teacher training. We started going around the room like at Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and everyone's like, hi, I'm Leah. This is why I'm here. And there was like 3 or 4 girls that said something before me, and sad fucking stories. And I was like, damn. And it came to me, and I'm like, damn. I'm like, I got the saddest story, but I was like, I ain't here to talk about that shit. I remember I looked at Michelle and Dom, and I was like, if you told me 10 years ago I would be here, I'd have honestly stabbed you in your neck. Everybody in the class laughed, and I was like, I'm Ralph. I'm like, this is it. I was like, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here. But here we go. And the rest is just history. I looked at it as nobody stops and takes the time for their mental health. Mental health is becoming such a priority for people. And for 31 years, I never stopped and looked after my mental health. I always thought I had to be hard. I always thought I had to be tough. The streets would eat me alive if I showed any weakness. But I come into yoga, and I'm like, every motherfucker here is flawed. And that's where I learned that it was okay to be flawed. I was like, no one's ever said like, man, you suck at this, Ralph, you suck at that. But man, we fucking love you though. You're perfect for this. And the rest just went from there, because like, it's like that Spider-Man shit. With great power comes great responsibility. I fight with it all the time. Why am I the vessel in front of the room? I should be an ambassador to yoga. I should not be your teacher. There are wonderful ladies in this city that take this shit a million times more serious than me. I didn't take it serious. I still don't take it serious. I have a class in 2 hours. I don't have a playlist. The only thing I know we're doing is I'm tired and we're going to start in a cross-legged seat. The rest, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. It's like 95 degrees outside. We're just going to figure it out. But it was the one place where my flaws were my superpower. And everybody needs to give themselves an hour, 75 minutes of just peace and quiet. Whether it's coming to yoga, finding your mat, finding yourself in just a quiet room for meditation, going for a walk in the park. Everybody needs to shut the world off. And that's what I found through yoga. No matter what was going on, no matter how fucking shitty my day is, no matter how fucking frustrated I'd be or how sad these hospital visits were, I would find my mat, and for that hour, nothing mattered. Nothing. I didn't hear, all I heard was transitions from down dog to crescent lunge. That's all I could think of. There wasn't no, what are you going to eat after this? You got to be at the doctor's at 3:30. You're going to be late. Like, there was none of that shit. It was just, all I can hear is my fucking prana the whole time. Inhales and exhales. And no one ever taught me either to breathe. I've been breathing my whole life and I didn't die. Knock on wood so far. I haven't died. But nobody was like, take a mindful breath in and out of your nose. And here are some other like secrets as well to find peace, like alternative nostrils. My favorite, 4 square breath, 5, 7, 6 breaths. You name it. Like, there's so many different breath combinations that are just like, wow, nobody, like, you would think that maybe they would talk about that every once in a while in a health class growing up. Like, like, yeah, no, you're just expected to breathe when you come out of the womb. But I just felt like if I could get misfits like myself to look at what I'm doing and do it, it's going to save a lot of people's fucking lives. And even if it don't save your life, it's going to actually be beneficial to your mental health and your overall health. When I first started yoga, it was purely mental. Now it's physical and mental. It's a mixture of both. I get the same mental benefits when I take a class, and then on top of it, my fucking abs are ripped afterwards. But I just was like, how do we get more people like that? Because nobody from my neighborhood would ever fucking think about going into a yoga studio. And it's like, maybe if they see my goofy ass up there, they might be more inclined to say, if this dude can do it, anybody can fucking do this shit. And literally anybody can do it. I know you guys as teachers probably hear the cliche all the time. People are like, well, I can't touch my toes. Who the fuck can? Like, there's only a select few of people that naturally, like, without stretching for years, can touch their toes first try. I'm like, you got to start somewhere. People always ask me, well, is it beginner class? And I'm like, every class is beginner if you're brand new. I'm like, it don't matter if you're advanced. It don't matter if Rhonda can't put her elbow in. It don't matter if Connie's standing on her head. It matters, like, all that matters is that you shut the world off for the last hour and you didn't have to think about life. And that's what led me into like teacher training. It just that was like the longest ramble of the story, but that's what just led me, just the overall satisfaction and peace I found from taking that hour out of the day to just shut the world off and give back to myself. And then once I walk out of that studio, back on to life, whatever life offers that day, we're going to figure it out. And whenever it beats me up again, I'm going to unroll my mat and I'm going to sit in a child's pose and I'm going to just let it fucking soak into my mat and let the earth take it. But
you know, it's funny, Ralph, you said that you don't take it very seriously, but it sounds like you take it really,
no,
really seriously.
I don't.
But like in a beautiful way where you know how much it means. And I think
well,
that there's a difference between like planning your classes and like knowing that it's a meaningful practice. And it sounds like
Mhm.
it's changed your life in so many ways that like the way you share it, of course it's going to have so much meaning.
Well, I have what I call the Mickey Mantle gene, where I'm naturally good at shit. If you show me how to do it, I could fucking do it. Where I during teacher training, I know yoga's the most it's not supposed to be judgmental, but it's the most judgmental thing in my life, basically. I just remember teacher training the first couple weeks, I would look at where everybody else was at and I'd look at where I was at. And I'm like, these girls are going home, they're studying, they're practicing. I never practiced once. I that Allen Iverson mentality. Practice. There is practice. We're talking about fucking practice. No way. Who the fuck got time to practice this? The practice to me was getting up in front of the heat, in front of 30 people, and actually doing it. Me sitting in my living room, going over what we're doing that class, it never worked out anyway. So I never would practice it. But that's what I mean when I don't take it serious. Like there's people that eat, breathe, and sleep. They're reading fucking Dalai Lama books. They're reading Gitas every day. And there's just me that's just like, I'm here because Diamond Dallas Page sent me.
That's kind of cool though, because if you think about it, like we've facilitated teacher trainings and been in teacher trainings, and there's always the people that read every chapter the day it's due, and they have all of their shit together, and they practice and plan and practice and plan, and like that's beautiful. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be better at holding space than somebody who does it differently, which is where you're at. And it sounds like your life experience and your empathy and the way that you've handled so much makes you a beautiful teacher and a beautiful person to hold space, not the way you sit down and write out a class or make a playlist. You are the yoga.
That's what everybody says to me. They're like, it's you. It's not what you do. It's you. They're not there for, they don't think your class is fire. They think you're fire. They want to hear what you want to fucking say. And that's why I say where my flaws become my superpowers, because it is flaws that led me there. It's trauma, broken heart, death, everything that's led me to this path of where I'm at right now. And for me to be able to, if I'm able to fix, if someone gives me an hour of their time, 75 minutes mostly, but if they give me 75 minutes, and in that 75 minutes, I help them shut the world off, I did what the universe asked of me. And I can't be grateful enough for the opportunities to do that. There's days where I would teach these morning classes. I went through, man, but life is ups and downs. I've had so many down days. 2023 was like the biggest roller coaster of just bad luck. I don't know what the fuck I don't know what type of karma the universe had planned for me or what I did in a past life, because it ain't this life shit that I'm getting punished for. I'm getting punished for past life shit. And last year, I just couldn't catch a break. The first day of the year, I jump in the river, I fucking dislocate my shoulder with the Polar Bear Club. A couple months later, I'm finally feeling good. I break my ankle, and I'm like, man, you broke your ankle. I'm like, how fucking clumsy are you, Ralph? Like, shoulder, ankle, then like later in the summer, I break my heart. And then like, it was 2023 was just a fucking rough one. And there would be days where I would be teaching the mornings, and it was almost like every other morning I'd be thinking in my head, man, I shouldn't be in front of this classroom right now. Like, these guys are all relying on me, but I need to tag someone in. I need to rely on someone right now myself. I need to switch places and unroll my mat and take this class as opposed to talk for the next hour. But I don't know. I feel like when I'm going through the most stress is when I kick the most ass. I call it I call it heat. Like, I throw them heat them days. There'll be days where I'm just fucking mentally, I just want to cry. But then I'll say some shit like, where I'm like, man, you should write that the fuck down and keep
Yeah.
that in mind. Like, you just spit some fire to the class and change their whole fucking afternoon. But I'm a student of life. That's what I call it. I'm not a teacher. I'm a student of life. I just happen to be a teacher 75 minutes a week minimum. But it is what it is. It could be worse. I should be dead or in jail when I really think about it. And the universe had way different plans for me, and I'm grateful for the change. It's like every decade I start to change. I just turned 40, and I'm starting to grow even sicker, to the point where I was like, you know what I want to do is I want to go back to school and get my doctorate. I want to become a fucking licensed therapist.
Wow.
Because who better than me to talk to motherfuckers that are broken, because I'm just as broken. And it came to me, I've always been a hustler. It came to me as I was going to therapy myself. I started dropping in for therapy in 2019. I had a traumatic work experience where I went to therapy 2 times. I just didn't like the conversation. I don't know if it was the therapist or what, but I just didn't like that. I felt like we're digging into shit that we shouldn't dig in, and I'm paying this motherfucker $150 out of my pocket every time I see her. And I feel worse when I leave there. But I started going back to therapy just recently, back in June. I had like, I don't know what that Uranus Mars conjunction, Neptune retrograde, Pluto Saturn retrograde.
There it is. There's the astrology talk.
It fucking, my June, I couldn't catch a break during June. It just lightened up like 3 days ago, where I'm like, all right, now I'm not feeling as unlucky as I was feeling last month. Mm-hmm. It was just strokes and strokes of misfortune last month. But when I think about it, it's nothing. I've survived way sicker, and change is good. It got me thinking, like I said, 40, let's take our ass back to school for 10 years and let's get 160 grand in debt. Like, let's fucking go.
Fuck it.
Let's fucking go. Who cares? It's only the next journey in these modalities I've been learning. Start with yoga, start with Reiki, start with breath work. Where else can I go to heal people except for put the fucking sweater on and sit them on a couch and talk to them?
The fucking sweater.
That's the main selling point. When people, I'm like, I want to work a job where I pick my own hours and I get to wear a sweater every day. Therapist.
Cardigan. It has to be a cardigan.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll switch it up. Christmas time,
maroon cardigan.
Maybe Christmas. I was thinking coochie sweaters like Bill Cosby used to wear, just loud, colorful. God. Bring that
I can
shit back.
see
That's more me. That's more me anyway.
Well, I have so many thoughts.
I have like a million questions, but I keep forgetting what they are because there's more stuff to ask questions about.
I just want to, this is more of a comment, but you're just like such a beautiful reminder that it's all perspective, and everyone's going to go through shit, and it's all relative to what the individual's going through. But at the end of the day, like you said, you don't know what someone's going through, and there's not really a hierarchy to it, even though there is. What you dealt with your parents is in my opinion, from what I can gauge in my mind, the fucking worst thing that I could ever imagine myself going through.
The generational trauma, of my bloodline is the most insane thing ever. I'm the last of the bloodline. I'm the last male heir Martino. So far, I've chosen not to have children. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing when I look at the perspective of it, where I say, we Martinos got a load of fucking generational trauma, and maybe I just put a pin in that for now and shut it down.
And you're the one. You're the one.
But I've had spiritual adventures where I've journeyed and I've dealt with past life. I've hit the I've been in past life situations 3 or 4 times. If you've ever met Rebecca Bloom did a past life reading on me a long time ago, where she told me my past life was a woman jazz player in Chicago in the 40s, but prior to that, I was a grave digger in the late 1800s. She told me all my friends were witches, and that all my friends were witches, and which makes sense. I'm in this. All my friends
I'm
are
gonna say still are.
spiritual. They literally are witches. Like, I'm literally a fucking warlock. But
So you and Dom must have known each
she
other in
told
a
me.
past life.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if me and Dom know each other. It seems
Long
like it. She
time.
knew I was sick before I was sick, so she knew me. But they told me I was a undertaker in a past life. Witches were my friends because witches would give me lavender and things like that to help me cope with this job I had to do. That I buried every body with integrity and so on and so forth. And she was like, and this lady didn't know me at all. And she was like, can I ask you a question about your personal life? And I was like, yeah. She was like, has death been a recurring factor? And I was like, everyone died. I was like, everyone in my life died in a span of 7 years. My mom died, my sister died, my dad died, my nephew died. My fucking cat was put to sleep in the middle of that, my aunt. And then I had just the amount of friends. I lost my best friend 2 years ago in July to drugs. And it's just like every fucking year I get over, just when I feel like I'm like, all right, we're not going to be sad no more. It's like, well, get the suit and tie out. We got another funeral Thursday, and this time it's your best friend. And it's like, fuck. And like you said earlier about that, like it's perspective. Like, the why me attitude is not going to get you nowhere. I always like to say, why not me? Why not me? Death followed me into this life apparently because they knew I could fucking handle it, and they know I chose to come into this life and handle it. And through messing with Rebecca Bloom, I ended up in an ayahuasca ceremony with her, Dom, Michelle, 2 summers ago. Life-changing fucking experience where under the plant medicine, we call her Grandma, she had the weirdest experience. She would literally talk to me the whole night. And I'd ask her, I went in there with an intention. I never set intentions for yoga class. I tell my students all the time, set an intention. My intention for yoga class is to get through yoga class, is to like not pass out and keep my head clear. But I set an intention. When I drank that cup of ayahuasca, I said to whoever was listening, God, the universe, I said, tell me what I'm supposed to do. And the reoccurring lesson I learned that night was, you're here to heal. And I was sent here to heal them, not me. In this DMT state for 8 hours, I traveled through not my whole bloodline. My dad, see, the trauma gets sicker. I'll break it down even sicker. My grandfather killed my grandmother in 1934. He shoved her, she fell, she hit her head. She was pregnant with my father and a twin sister. My grandmother passes away. They're able to C-section my dad and save him. They weren't able to save my aunt. Grandfather gets in no trouble for it. They deem it an accident. It's 1934. That gangster shit runs in my blood. My grandfather was a gangster motherfucker. He ends up getting stomach cancer. One night in the hospital, somebody comes in and smothers him with a pillow, kills him. My dad becomes an orphan. Fast forward to 1979, a couple years before I was born. My grandfather on my mother's side is murdered. He was a cab driver, robbed, killed, the whole 9 yards. The dude who killed him, only did 3 months in jail. His dad was a predominant professor at Pitt. Dude's still alive. He lives in Duquesne. He's a registered sex offender as well.
My God.
But My grandmother on my mom's side goes crazy, gets dementia. She dies. My mom was the oldest one. I have I had three uncles and a aunt. My mom ends up getting full custody of these kids. At the same time, she has my oldest brother, Rob. She just had a baby of her own. She met my dad. They're starting a life or whatever. She has to take care of those children as well. A year after that, a year to the date of my grandfather's death, my Uncle Bobby kills himself. My mom was like, I wish my mom knew yoga. She never met yoga or even just meditation. My mom didn't know none of that shit or even therapy. My mom, like, I don't know if she was bipolar or crazy, but she was a hard fucking woman. She didn't, I don't think she loved me. She loved me maternally, but I think karmatic reasons is why she had to birth me. Probably because she killed me in a past life and had to bring me into this life. But my mom was never able to recover from that. There was just like always fucked up. But all that generational trauma, 3 out of 4 of my grandparents getting murdered, that all ends up in me. That all trickles down to me, especially if nobody's talking about it. My dad's in and out of orphanages, being abused. He was an amateur boxer. When he was 18 years old, he gets punched in the temple. It's what knocked him blind. He wasn't born blind.
Oh my God.
I don't know exactly what he could see and what he couldn't see, but I know I'd have pounds of weed sitting in my room and a gun on my dresser one time, and he didn't fucking see it, or he chose not to see it maybe, but I truly believe he didn't see it. I had to deal with all that trauma. When I went into that ayahuasca space, that's what I ended up doing that night. I ended up doing Reiki on my fucking family. I never met any of these people. In my household, it was a no-go to talk about my dad's parents. I was told at a young age, your grandfather was a bad man. That's it. Don't bring it up to your dad. Leave it be. And he didn't confess none of that shit. Like, I knew the stories from like my aunts and uncles would tell me like the stories, but like I didn't know how bad it was like until my dad was on his deathbed. And then he just started telling me about the group homes and shit like that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. I'm like, you needed to tell somebody about this 50 fucking years ago and get this shit off of your chest. And that night, I'm doing Reiki on my grandmother. I've never met her. I'm telling her what the universe is telling me. I'm like, tell her the messages. It's not her fault. Don't be sad. I'm doing it on my grandfather. I'm seeing my best friend in there. I'm seeing this dude, Billy Mayo, the 58s. And we're just like, and I'm just telling like in the message, I'm relaying all these messages the universe should have relayed them while they were alive to help change them. I'm like, Grandma, it wasn't your fault. And then like at the very end of the night, I finally run into my grandfather, who I say is responsible for everything. I don't know what my great grandparents did, but they couldn't have been as bad as my grandfather. I run into him, and it's just like the realest conversation I ever had with anybody. And I'm like, I'm Ralph. I'm your fucking grandson. And I'm like, I'm here to fucking end this. I'm like, this got to stop now. I'm like, you put my parents through hell. And I'm like, this shit's all trickling down to me. And I'm starting to understand it. The more and more I get on my journey, and the more and more I keep dealing with energy work, and I keep dealing with these fucking witches that I chill with that read tarot and fucking my palms, for Christ's sakes. And I went in there and fought that trauma. And I was supposed to do ayahuasca on the 28th of this month. This one was supposed to be for me. I was like, last time I went in there, I healed the bloodline. Now it's time for me to heal. I actually canceled it. I ate a heroic dose of mushrooms like 3 weeks ago. And it literally took me to that same ayahuasca space where I was like, oh no, the fucking jesters, the hornets, the Aztec faces. I'm like, I don't want to go back here no more. I'm cool on that. I'm like, oh, we'll we'll figure this out. We'll heal my trauma some other way, not these powerful psychedelics anymore. But it's just like, if you told me, like I said, if you told me 10 years ago that I would meet my grandmother in a DMT state, I'd have fucking laughed at you. If you told me 10 years ago I'd be teaching yoga, I'd laugh at you. But now, like, I never say never on anything. And now I live my life thinking like the weirdest outcome should be the best outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let the weird shit fly.
Yeah.
It's a never ending journey though. It's every time I feel like I learned my lesson, it's a new cycle. A wise man told me, he said, you're either about to go through something, going through it, or you just came out of it. But no matter what, the show goes on and the cycle continues. If you get out of it, enjoy it for now. Something else is coming.
So fucking true. It's so fucking true.
Just talking about
So
that.
might as well
Cycle of
figure out how to,
transformation.
yeah, might as well figure out how to fucking enjoy it and like utilize the fucking every cycle is just like an opportunity for like more clues on the treasure hunt, that treasure map that we're like walking, that is life. I think another thing that I think is really amazing and beautiful about you, Ralph, is that like you're the definition of like you remind me that like your story and your background and all the fucking shit that you've been through is your superpower. And that's everybody. Like, I feel like so often if I talk about myself, like I feel like there's like parts of me and that parts of my background that I like hide and don't want to admit that like are truly what I've been through and what have brought me to where I am and made me who I am. And but it's like that's my superpower. So why am I hiding from it? Like
Dom is the one that pushed me into that mind frame of that. Like one of the first times we all hung out after the gongs up in Irwin, I remember I ate a bunch of mushrooms and went to the gongs. And we were all just chilling after we cleaned up, talking. Dom very rarely pulls up to the gong. She pulled up. And we just started talking. Like Dom barely knew me. I just started teacher training. And I just started telling her my life. And I get a text message at like 4 a.m. later that night from Dom. And she's like, I can't stop thinking about what the fuck you just said to us. And she was like, you need to write a book. And she was like, you need to fucking tell people your story. She was like,
Yeah.
people need to know that you can turn tragedy into triumph, and that why me shit is bogus. Why not me? Like,
yeah,
who better than me? Who?
I love that so much.
Nobody else. When I think about the shit, like, I don't know how many people would have made it through some of the shit I made it through.
Yeah.
The one thing I always kept telling myself was, don't run back to alcohol, and I always sold drugs. I was never the drug user. Don't you fucking dare become the drug user. That's what I told myself. Don't let no fucking doctor throw you fucking pills. Don't let, like in my early 20s, I had vices. I liked to drink and I liked to gamble. I ain't gambled in 15 years. I ain't had a drink. Well, I've had drinks, celebratory drinks, but I really haven't had a drink, and I haven't had a buzz in the last 10 years of my life for sure. Yeah. From alcohol. And in the last 5 years, I think I had 5 drinks, and they were all toast. That happened during the podcast where it was like, I kind of have to do this on camera.
Yeah.
Or I have to sip this fucking alcohol. But there's nothing wrong with like changing your perspective on things.
Yeah.
I have a banner. I'm looking at it right now. It says, don't be afraid of change. Be afraid of not changing. And I'm afraid of both. I'm afraid of change. Change scares the fuck out of me. But at the same time, do I want to be where I'm at right now, 10 years from now? Fuck no, I don't want to be where I'm at. I want to be wearing a sweater, getting paid fucking 200 grand a year. And not only that, but like I want fulfillment. I've talked a lot on my podcast and with people about the lawn care shit. I've been rich. I've been poor. I've made my way myself. I've always been a hustler. I'm always going to land on my feet.
Yeah.
I have no other choice. There's no plan B. I don't have anybody I
Ralph
can
the
call
kitty
and say I
cat.
need. I can't call anybody for a plan B. So whatever plan A is, it has to fucking work. So I just keep that perspective in mind that like whatever, it's not like if you don't change, you're fucking you basically are dying. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of not being able to change. But am I afraid of going back to school? Fuck yeah, I'm gonna be the 40-year-old with a bunch of people at fucking Penn State. Like, hey, what's up, kids?
I
You're
think,
old enough to be my kid.
yeah. Sup? You like my sweater? Do I look like Bill Cosby?
But at the same time, I feel like it's like, all right, Ralph, you're here to
Why
help
not?
people. This is the best way to help them.
The next step.
One-on-one, and let's fix some motherfuckers. Let's fix them completely. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that like at this point too, hearing your whole story and like being where you're at in this present moment, I feel like you've done a really exceptional job at walking the line of like hard and soft, because like you're still fucking tough as nails, and like you said, like you're gonna land on your feet. A is the only option, there's no B. But at the same time, like you understand that there's power in the softness as well, and that like it's inevitable. You know, you have to have, just like anything, it's got to be a balance and an ebb and a flow. It can't just be one way. But like by no means do I feel like I don't hear like what I'm hearing from you doesn't sound like you lost your hardness. You just learned how to dance with softness as well.
Well, I'm still hard as ever. I think I'm the hardest
I
I've
was
ever
gonna
been right
say,
now.
okay.
I've been going hard. Today's my only day off, and it's not a day off. I got to go teach
Yeah,
class.
you're doing this with us
still.
and you're teaching.
And
You sound like
but-
May and I. We're off
but,
today. We only teach 3 classes.
but that Dom told me. I'll say she told me. She told the class, but she told me I didn't
Yeah.
have to be hard anymore. And ever since that fucking day, I'll be damned if I ain't cried more and more. Like. And that leads back to my astrology. I'm all triple.
I was just
water
gonna
sign.
ask, what are you? You read my mind in that moment.
I am a Pisces sun, Scorpio moon, and I am a Cancer rising. And not only that, but I have Pisces in my chart 3 other times, and same with Scorpio. My chart is fucked. If you see my chart, if you saw like the circle and the graphs, everything is in one like quarter of it, and it's
Fucked.
mayhem. These conjunctions, Neptune is my ruling planet, and every time it goes retrograde, it's almost like it sucks my creativity drive for a couple months.
Interesting.
And it like steals my dreams. Like I still dream about hitting the Powerball, but like the last week I've been like, grow up, Ralph. Grow up. Give that $2 to a poor person instead of playing the fucking lottery.
Well, I mean, I can't express my gratitude enough for having you and for you being open and vulnerable enough to share your story. May and I actually decided right before we got on, before you, like we were in this Zoom room, to take a summer vacation just because we've got a fucking shit load of crap going on. Not crap, really awesome, cool things. But I was like, we aren't stopping, but let's take a pause. Like, let's pick a date right now. This is when we're going to come back. And I just feel like it was the whole time you were talking to, I kept thinking like, this is the universe. Like this, everything you just shared is the perfect like place to take a pause. And I feel like we could just stop the podcast altogether. You've said it all. But yeah, like the everything that you just shared in the conversation that we just had is like the exact was the type of conversation that I wanted to have when I thought like, let's do a podcast. This is exactly like what I had in mind, which is literally just sharing your fucking story and how it brought you to yoga and how that yoga has affected your story since the moment that you let it. So there's not really enough. The only words I can say are thank you, but like that doesn't feel like nearly enough to express just how grateful I am for your time and your
It's always good.
bravery.
It's
So
always
brave.
good to get that shit off your chest.
Yeah.
That advice Dom told me, she been telling me for years, write the book. I just started. I journal all the time. I literally have notebooks everywhere in my house.
Same.
But
actually.
I started writing my favorite, like anytime I should have went to jail, anytime I should be dead, I started writing them stories down. And I'm like, there's gonna be a time and place where I could tell these stories and people are gonna be like, holy shit.
That's gonna be your next rich endeavor. That's where you're gonna hit the big one.
She would tell me make a movie, and I'm like, who the fuck would watch it? And I'm like, she's like, everybody would watch it. And I'm like,
no, you write the
she's
book.
like, you're so.
Let
She's
someone
like,
else
you
spend
got.
the money on the movie.
She's like, you got such a story to tell, and I'm like, when I think about it, I'm like, my life could have been 10 times worse. I never got abused or nothing. Like,
See,
my parents were
perspective.
there. They were just sick. They were just fucking sick the whole time.
Yeah.
Could be worse. Like, they could have not been there, and it could have been worse. It could have, I could be, I could have like cerebral palsy or something. Like, I don't know. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for. I hate that I'm thankful for it, but I'm thankful for all the terrible shit that has happened to me in my life that has made me change my mind frame and made me become the person I am today. And if it wasn't for that shitty life, who knows whose life? I know I've affected a few lives. I've had a few people tell me that their yoga journey started due to me. And I know I've started a few yoga journeys.
Mm-hmm.
I went on the I'll Call You Right Back podcast, and my ego went out of control one day. And I was like, every girl I've slept with has become a yoga teacher. In the last couple years that I've been on my journey, I'm 4 or 5. The last girl I dated.
That's pretty crazy.
I don't, if she becomes a yoga teacher, holy fuck, but I highly doubt that. I doubt that's her calling, but that's ego
Dating Ralph
again,
is
too.
like going to yoga teacher training.
Yeah, it's like when it's like how some girls date guys and all of them end up gay.
Or whatever.
All of yours end up good luck, Chuck. Yeah.
If you're thinking about becoming a yoga student, let's
Ralph.
go smoke and get a drink.
Yeah.
I'll talk you into it.
You've already answered this question, but just to like tie a bow on it, the question we always ask everyone at the very end is, do you think yoga can change the world? Yes or no, and why?
Yeah. Yep. I believe we could weaponize yoga to the point where
hot take.
A super hot take. And it's doable. If we could weaponize yoga. There's a thing called the Schumann Renaissance, and that's the vibration of the earth. The earth, it's like a 5.28 hum. It's an angelic sound, one of the healing tones. If we came together, there's 8 billion people on earth, or whatever the fuck they say. If 8 billion people stopped at 11 a.m. one day, sat down and meditated, we would change the earth immediately. Not only would we change the earth, we would change the Schumann Renaissance. We would raise the vibration. We might fucking go to the 5th dimension if we all came together like that.
Fuck yeah.
And it could be weaponized for bad, where if we all came together and we all said, fuck that dude at 11 o'clock, we could probably put a stop to
the
somebody.
world would explode.
Yeah.
All right, you start the group chat, Ralph. Let's get this going.
I mean,
the revolution won't be televised.
Yeah. Amen. All right. Well, Ralph, I don't want to keep you for any more time. I know that you've got a yoga class to prep for. Just kidding. To mentally prepare for.
I will ask from one teacher to another. Throw me a suggestion today for a Shavasana jam.
Oh, Shavasana jam.
Hatha Yoga Nushasanam.
I like this one called, of course, now my phone wants to fucking freeze. Okay, here we go. It's called Shanti. Hang on. Shanti. It's got an orange album.
It's not DJ Drez, is it?
No, it's MC Yogi.
Ah, okay.
Shanti in parentheses, peace out. That's a good one.
I know who MC Yoga is as well.
I'll text you.
I know some of that yoga music. It ain't
That's
all
a
just
good. That's a good.
it ain't all
Shavasana.
just trap music and Iron Maiden up in the bro flow class. There's a lot of soft jams too. And there's a
Amen.
little bit of the Indian music as well.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe. It gets me in
Right.
it. That's for sure. It all does. All right. Well, Ralph, thank you so much. Can you tell the listeners where to find you on Instagram?
Yeah, I do got some shameless plugs.
Do it.
Yoga Ralph on Instagram, Facebook. My government name is Ralph Martino. I don't like Facebook. Nobody likes Facebook.
Nah.
You want to find me on Instagram. I teach yoga. I podcast. I shoot videos. I'm a fucking triple threat, singer, dancer,
Yes.
actor.
He turns
Yes.
women into yoga teachers. It's
Yes.
just
I've
one
been known,
erotic
I don't know. I think I turned I don't know. I think I turned the last girl I dated into a fucking dictator, maybe more than a yoga
The
teacher.
great transmuter.
She's gonna want a fucking world domination now, but as well as the Anybody Can Do This show
Yes.
on Instagram as well. My
We all
homeboy
know and
neighbor
love.
Nick runs that. We run a podcast the same as you guys. We've actually taken a break. You were the last two we had in studio, and we just got air conditioning in the studio last Monday. I haven't been there since late March.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how hot it's
fucking
been
hot.
down there, and like I hope the camera didn't like melt or
Explode.
anything like that while we've been gone. But
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. We were the
We're-
last ones before your pause, and now you're gonna be the last one before our pause. It's
Yeah,
truly
well, that's how
fucking
they-
meant to be.
that's how you know the world is a simulation.
Yeah.
One cycle starts, you either go through it, coming out of it, or
About
About
to
to
start a
start
new
it.
one.
Also, I just noticed
But-
you have two cats in your picture behind you, and one of them has a hat that says Thug Life, and I love that.
That's actually a picture of Tupac and Biggie Shakur. They take
Okay.
a picture together, and we just put my cats there. I got
Yes.
the art in my house is ridiculous. It's like Pee-wee's Playhouse in here.
Can you take
I was
pictures
like-
of it so we can post it on Instagram?
If you want to see it, I got
Oh, we
cat
wanna see it.
next to me the whole time.
Hi,
Bria's
buddy.
been-
I'm so here for the cat art.
yeah, there's the cat art's my favorite.
It's cute.
I like cats.
It's
I like
hilarious.
cats. I don't know. I'm scared of dogs, but I like cats.
I
And I'm
got
not
you.
scared of all dogs. Once I meet your dog, we usually become cool.
You met
But there-
Levi.
Yeah, but there is like, I don't know. People think I'm crazy, but like I have a way with animals. I feed the squirrels. They fucking come right up to me and shit. And stray cats, for some reason, they end up homed with me. But dogs, I think dogs, like, in my head, I telepathically tell them. I say, hey, bro, I'm cool. You be cool. 9 out of 10 times the dog is cool, and I'm like, all right, we could be friends. There's that one time there's always that one dog that's like, no, I ain't cool. I ain't gonna be cool. And I'm like,
Well, fuck you,
Yeah.
bro.
buddy, put your dog away. Can you do me a favor? Put your dog away. Or I'm kind of scared of your dog.
He told me telepathically he's not ready to be cool.
I told him be cool, and he said no. And
Yeah.
I was here for everybody's safety.
It's like, you're kidding, but I know you're not.
When I tell people I'm scared of dogs, and like, they're like, really? I'm like everybody has a dog, and I'm like, yeah. I was like, I'm kind of scared of your dog. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
we're gonna get through this together. Me and your dog. We're gonna sit down, and I'm gonna stare him right in his eyes, and I'm gonna tell him telepathically, I'm cool, bro.
You gotta
Be
be
cool.
cool. Speaking
here,
of, I
give
have
me a
one right
sniff.
here.
Come here, give me a sniff if you want, and
We'll
just
figure
be
it out.
easy. Yeah.
All right, Ralph. Well, thank you so much. This has been awesome. May, thank you. Thank you to all of our listeners. This is going to go down as one of the best episodes. I know it, just like Dom's
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
So thank you.
Hopefully,
That's the
people don't
juice,
listen to it
Montana.
and be like, "This dickhead just wasted an hour of my life
Never.
complaining
No.
about his gangster grandparents getting killed." And
No. No, no,
I
no.
don't think so.
All right. Well, have a good class, Ralph. May,
Yep,
thank you. I'll
enjoy
talk to
it.
you soon. And that's
Enjoy
a
your
wrap.
break.
See you
Yep.
guys November 1st.
Oh,
Peace.
nice.
And probably before then.
Yeah, we'll do random ones, May and I, but November 1st with our next guest, I should say.
Yes. There we
November
go.
1st with our next guest. All right, y'all.
Thank you,
All right,
Yoga Chat.
bye.
Thank you for your
Peace.
time. Enjoy the
You
day.
too.
You too.
Peace.